Hello, and welcome to PSY300, Movies and Madness, the Fall 2020 Corona edition. What I'm going to do today in this video is kind of the usual first day of class thing of walking you through the syllabus so that you understand the requirements and what's expected of you, so that you know what materials you need to acquire to be ready to get started next week with the first week's activities. I'll also give you a tour of the D2L page so that you know where everything is and how to access it, just as a way of orienting you to my approach to the class. So here's the syllabus. It looks very much like all of the syllabi you're going to see in all of your classes. First off, this course will be 100%, okay, 99% asynchronous. Meaning that there will be no required live lecture classes for you to attend at specific times every week. Instead, there will be weekly video lectures that I will post for you. Usually I'll try to get those done by Sunday evening so that you have access to the video lectures during the week while you're doing your work. I will probably be chunking them so that there will be several shorter videos as opposed to single long videos. The only synchronous component to the class will be office hours, which will take place in the virtual classroom on D2L from 1:30 to 2:30 on Wednesdays and Fridays. And that's a time where I'm going to be present. I'm going to be in the virtual classroom where you can pop in. You can use the chat, you can use the video if you want, you can ask questions, have a conversation, but that's the only synchronous component to the class. My campus phone is posted here. If you dial that number, obviously I'm not going to be on campus in my office. However, I get an email anytime someone leaves me a voice message. So you can use that number to leave voicemail if you want. I am giving you my cell phone number, but I'm going to request that you be respectful about having that information, that you don't abuse the privilege. I tend not to answer phone numbers that I don't recognize. So if you do have to call me, if it's an emergency, you really need to get in touch with me, you can leave a voicemail and I will get back to you. But just know I'm not screening my calls to ignore students. I screen all my calls because that's how I am. You can text me with questions. I will say that I'm an old person. I go to bed around 10:30. I don't respond to anything on my phone unless it's a family member after 10:30 at night. So if you text me in the middle of the night when you're working on something, that's fine. I'm just not going to answer it until I get up in the morning and have had coffee. So the best way to get a hold of me on a regular basis is email, and you should get in the habit, especially when we're having to interact so much in an online environment, and we don't get to see you in person as often as we would normally. You really need to be checking your email at least a couple of times a day to make sure that you're up to date on any communications that your faculty have to have with you. I already talked about the office hours. Now, you may have heard things about this class from some of your peers. I just want a chance to give you the short version of what Movies and Madness is all about. There will be a lecture, a video lecture posted. It'll probably be one of the only ones that I don't make really super short video clips of. It'll be posted in long form because that's how I like to do it with that opening lecture. So you get a much longer description of the philosophy behind the course and kind of my starting set of expectations and assumptions next week. But here's the short version is that my background is as a social psychologist. I look at my major research when I was in graduate school was in attitudes, especially complicated social attitudes. And attitudes towards people with mental illness are definitely complex social attitudes. And unfortunately, attitudes towards people with especially serious mental illnesses like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, for example, our attitudes tend to be pretty negative, and our expectations have been shaped by stories and TV and film, such that we tend to expect the people with those illnesses will be violent and dangerous, and they need to be kept separate from the rest of us. So given that kind of media landscape, I wanted to explore in a classroom format, explore this as a social psychologist. So I look at stigma toward people with mental illness as a social problem. It causes problems for individuals, for families, for us as a culture, because mental illnesses are quite common. I also built the class based in part on the understanding from research that the major place that people learn about mental illnesses isn't from a textbook, isn't from a psych class, it's from TV and movies. Like the overwhelming majority of people say that where they've gotten their information about mental health conditions and treatment for them is from TV and film. And unfortunately, what we see on TV and film is largely inaccurate. So we're going to explore that, and you're going to learn some methods of interrogating media, kind of taking it apart, thinking about what messages are being sent by these pieces of media, and how to combat them. There are no prerequisites for this class. Many students from many different majors tend to take this class, so it's set up to be without a prerequisite. I have a number of course learning goals here for you. You're going to be spending a good chunk of the early part of the class really working hard on numbers 1 and 2, critically evaluating depictions of people with mental illness in film, and number 2, critically evaluating depictions of mental health professionals. We'll get a heavy dose of both of those in our very first film. We're going to watch 2019's Joker as our first film. Many of you have probably seen it, as it was much talked about and critically acclaimed, particularly Joaquin Phoenix's performance. But I'm going to ask you to watch it in a different way this time around, so that we really kind of tease out those issues. As we do that, you'll be learning how to detect inaccurate negative images and messages, and kind of think through what the impact of those messages might be for real people as they live their real lives. You're going to also learn how to get good information from sources that you're most likely to use. So one of the things you're going to get in your email by the first day of class, each of you will get an email. That email will contain the name of a psychological disorder and an associated film. And your job is kind of to put yourself in the mindset, what if I or a member of my family just got this diagnosis? Where would I get information? Now, if you're like me, or like lots of people these days, we walk around with a tiny, very powerful computer in our back pocket, a smartphone. And a lot of this, we get something new and we don't know how to answer it. We go to Google or whatever search engine you like, and we ask Google, what is this thing? So you're going to learn through having responsibility for one disorder, where do I go in the world of the internet to find reliable, useful information about mental illnesses in that world? And I'll talk more about that part of the course here in a little bit. Through some of the papers that you'll be writing, because this is very much a course that doesn't involve quizzes or exams or content mastery. It's more about working with the skills that you gain from interrogating films to really think about practicing those skills in practical ways. So the goals 5 and 6, on one of the assignments is going to be for you to select a film of your own and really show me that you've learned how to do this process of interrogating films. And then finally, you're going to design your own kind of project that will help to reduce stigma in other people, to correct their attitudes, to change their beliefs. I'll leave you to read the connections to departmental learning goals on your own in the syllabus. As with, I believe, pretty much all of your syllabi and all of your classes are going to have this flipped learning statement. Basically, the short version is, given the nature of the coronavirus, we have to be nimble. We have to be able to, if, and I'm using the big we, all of your faculty, whether they're teaching online only or in person, we have to be ready to change what we do so that we can meet your needs regardless of whether you're on campus or off. Your technology requirements, again, this is kind of a standard statement that I've tweaked here and there with some things that I know are pretty important. You need to be able to access the D2L page, so you need to have a working computer. You need to be able to watch videos on that computer. I'm not using Respondus Lockdown Browser in this class, but if in any of your classes you are, and you have a Chromebook, you need to be able to access a different computer to take those quizzes and tests if Respondus is being used. Now again, I don't have tests and quizzes in this class, so it doesn't apply here, but Chromebooks do have that limitation. There is one assignment where I will be asking you to record a video. The disorder card assignment, I'm asking you, because normally when I'm teaching this class face-to-face, you verbally present in front of your classmates your what you learned about the disorder that you were assigned. We can't do that obviously in an online environment, so I want you to record. Now this is an informal thing. This isn't like you're creating a presentation for your walk portfolio. I don't need you to dress up. I don't need PowerPoint. I don't need production value. I just need you recording. Could be recording on your phone, recording on your webcam, whatever. You telling your classmates on video what you learned about your assigned video and the other elements of that assignment. And then that's something that I will plug into a discussion forum so that we can have a conversation about what you learned. So you will need some way of recording. Now for some of you that will be a challenge. I've already got a message from one student who doesn't have a webcam on their laptop that functions. So my suggestion would be to use a tablet or cell phone, because those videos are fine. Or if you are going to be on campus, you can use the DWOC Studio to make recordings that you need to make. So you do have other options there. For papers, I am going to ask that you use Microsoft products for papers that you produce for me. I know that a lot of you've been raised on Google Classroom and using Google versions of word processors and spreadsheets and presentation software. The problem is that Google's products don't necessarily play nice with D2L. D2L frequently mangles formatting in ways that can get you negative feedback, like removing or changing margins and all kinds of nonsense that's very unpredictable. So since Office 365 is included in the cost of your education here, you need to avail yourself of that. Install Office 365 and Microsoft Office that comes with it, and turn in Word documents as your assignments. Please do not turn in your assignments as PDFs unless there is absolutely no other way for you to get them to me. I much prefer a Microsoft Word document. All right. Now, to access the reading materials, for this class. The wall textbook, I mean, you're certainly more than welcome to order a paperback version of it. There is a Kindle version of the wall textbook that's on, I think it's like $10 because it's an older book. But you can access it for free in the Mount Union Library as an ebook. It's a very short text. Reading each of the chapters that I assign will not take you very long at all. So the wall text is in ebook format in the library if you don't want to buy it. There are a couple of other books that you're going to find really helpful for both your disorder card assignment and for potentially at least for your film analysis assignment. And these are both available. Thank you to our librarians who brought this to my attention. These are both available in ebook format for free through our library. The DSM-5 guidebook is available, gives you lots of diagnostic information, what are the diagnostic criteria, and so on, gives you examples, and so forth. Now, the Ventura book, also available on ebook through the library, gives you actual case studies so that you can have concrete examples to read about from professionals who work with these diagnostic labels all the time. So both of those books are available to you through your library. If you have trouble accessing them, let me know, and I can walk you through the process. There will be some other readings, some of which are required, but others that are supplemental, and those will be noted in the syllabus schedule as to whether they are absolutely required or whether they are optional. One other piece of reading that you'll need to do is you will choose one of a set of what I call first-person narrative accounts. So these are books that were written by young people who were diagnosed either in childhood or adolescence with a mental illness. And each book represents a different kind of mental illness. And you'll be selecting one of those books to read. The books were produced by the Annenberg Public Policy Center. The PDF copies of these books are posted on their website for free. And I also got permission from Annenberg to post the PDF copies of the books in D2L. So they are all available in D2L for you, or you can access them through the website as well. Now, here's the breakdown of assignments. As I mentioned earlier, this is not a quizzes and exams kind of class. This is a project class. Each of the different project areas is color-coded here obsessively. We've got the first-person narrative essay that I just mentioned, where you're going to read a book and write a reflective essay on what you've learned from reading. The disorder card essay and video. So next week, probably the first day of classes, you'll get an email from me, and it will have the name of a disorder and an associated film in that email. That's your disorder card. Now, why it's called card is because normally if I was in a classroom, I'd hand you a little piece of paper, a little card, like a note card, and it would have the name of a disorder and a film on it. We are also going to have, since what usually happens in class with disorder cards is the person presents their card, they describe their disorder, how it's treated, and other kinds of information, and then we talk about it. So it's normally a discussion. So what's going to happen after you learn about your disorder, when the film that's associated with your disorder comes up on the schedule, that week I'll be posting your video, or you will, whichever, and then everybody in the class needs to participate in the discussion forum for that particular set. So let's say we're in Joker, we're going to have some things like schizophrenia and related conditions will be in there, and a couple of other disorders. So like, let's say 3 or 4 of you have disorder cards for Joker. After we watch that film, you're going to post your videos, or I will, and then we're going to have a conversation about what you found. You'll be able to, what does participation mean? It means you're going to talk, ask questions, make observations, and so on, and we'll all participate in that. The film reflections, each movie that you watch, you will go to, essentially, D2L has a quiz space where you can take quizzes. It doesn't have a homework space or a worksheet space, but I'm using the quizzes for you to enter your film reflections for me. So it makes the assessment side of things a little easier for me. So film reflections will be a set of questions that I want you to be thinking about as you watch each of our films. And then after you've watched the film, you put in your reflections as basically homework for each of those movies. The film analysis essay, you're going to choose a film to watch, not one of the ones that we watch in the class as a part of the required viewing in the class, but another film that you are interested in profiling to write an essay about. And then finally we have a Stigma Buster project, which is a sort of education project where you use something in your own personal wheelhouse, something that you're really interested in, that you are passionate about, and you take on this challenge of wanting to educate your peers, your community, about a particular issue related to mental illness. Now each of these assignment areas, and again they're kind of ruthlessly color-coded, there are brief descriptions here in the syllabus, but the better place to get full information on each of these things is on the D2L page. So I won't talk about them anymore here. I'll wait until we're touring the D2L page. Grading, basically, I will be doing grading on a weekly basis. I'll be entering grades into D2L, usually as things start accumulating toward the end of the week as you're turning things in. And I'll update, as quickly as I can. All of the assignments in this particular class have to be manually graded, meaning by me. So I have to, either through D2L or by downloading documents and assessing them, I will have to enter those grades. But, you can kind of make a habit when things have been due and you've turned them in and you want to see where you stand. You can check the grade book on D2L. If you notice that something is missing or there's a score that just doesn't seem right, feel free to ask me questions. I'm just as vulnerable to making mistakes as the next person. Some of the remainder here is pretty standard language for syllabi about conduct, about academic honesty, and so on. I'll leave you to read that on your own. What you'll see in the schedule, I'm following the same color coding that I had earlier to help you to kind of track what's the broad topic that we're looking at, what are our assignments for this week, and then if you follow the color coding, anything in blue is first person narrative assignment, anything in orange is disorder card, the red is film reflections, and so on. So you'll kind of get used to seeing that, at least on this schedule. What I always recommend is, you should plug your deadlines into your calendar. If you use a paper calendar, write them into your paper calendar. If you use your phone, plug them into your phone. Research has actually shown that if we put tasks like these into our phones, we are far more likely to actually do them if we can see them visually on a device that we actually use on a regular basis. So unlike just leaving it in your syllabus, which you don't look at every day, I certainly wouldn't, if it's put in your phone, you're more likely to actually see it. So as we move through these weeks, you'll notice kind of a flow to things. The first thing that you'll notice is that you have your first paper, which is a relatively short one. Don't freak out and drop the class. Your reflection on the first person narrative book that you choose, and they are very short books, is due at the end of the second week. Because why I do this, it seems to be a very powerful thing for students in this class to read about a real life person, a person who has struggled with a mental illness in their own lives. It's very powerful to hear that voice before you start really digging in this class. You can know after you read these books, you can't really hold these people at arm's distance. They're real people. So that's why that's due so early. So what you'll notice week to week is we watch a film. So you have screening, and it tells you which film we're going to be watching. You have reflections that are due. There will be a video lecture that I'll post. Usually lectures will be posted on Sunday evenings. And then you'll have the discussion forum from the previous week's movie. There will be weeks, like week 4, where we take a break from watching movies and we spend the week talking about projects. This will happen a couple of times, first with the Stigma Buster project, and then later with the film analysis essay. Again, ruthless color coding, anything purple is Stigma Buster. So you'll notice the scaffolded moments where you have something due for each of your projects. Green is film analysis essay. Week 7 is another one of these weeks where we take a break from watching new movies and instead we talk about the film analysis essay. And you'll notice with both the Stigma Buster assignment and the film analysis essay, I want you to make an individual appointment to have probably a Zoom meeting with me to individually talk about what you might want to do for both the Stigma Buster and the film analysis essay. And that's why we're not doing anything else that week other than the discussion forum for the previous week's movie. So you should find it pretty easy to follow each of the elements on the schedule. When you get down to the very end of the schedule, I haven't quite decided how I'm going to do this, but we're going to have, final revisions of papers are going to be due the last week by the 24th of November. I want to have some kind of way of sharing the Stigma Buster projects, but I need to give that some more thought, how I want to accomplish that. So there's going to be a celebration of some kind. I just don't know what yet. I'll keep you posted. So there's no comprehensive final. I tend not to do that in any of my classes anyway, whether I'm in the middle of a global pandemic or not. The only thing due at the very end will be final revisions on papers. So that's the syllabus. Now I want to shift over to the D2L page. And right now I'm viewing this as a student, so it looks pretty much like what you will see, at least I assume so, when you go onto the D2L page, which you may already have. I opened the page yesterday, so you may have already visited this page. Hopefully it makes sense and is easy to navigate. But I did want to give you a little bit of a tour of the D2L page just so that you know where everything is. This is the landing page, the home page. You have some quick access to some of the things that you might need right here on the home page. So my contact information, my email address is there. When my office hours are, there's my dog who keeps me sane. There's a calendar, has the due dates and deadlines. It also indicates the office hours for you. And then there's a whole long list of additional university policies and resources that you might want to have access to. Now, where you're going to spend most of your time is in the content browser of D2L. And we've gotten a lot of really good help since March, and particularly this summer, with a new instructional designer who's teaching us all a great deal about how to use D2L most effectively in an online environment. So in the content browser, and right now, you notice these check marks? That's because I've been on every space in the D2L page. Basically, every time you go to a space for the first time, it's like it's an unfinished piece of work. So when you go, say, to the Welcome to Movies and Madness module under course information, if you've gone there for the first time and then you leave, it's going to check it off because you've been to that page. So mine are all checked off because I've been building this D2L page for quite some time. But that's something that can be useful. It's a visual representation. It says, have I been to that space? Maybe there's something there that I need to look at that I haven't looked at yet because it isn't checked off. So we'll start with the Welcome to Movies and Madness. And since you're watching this video, this may be where you found it. Obviously, I'm recording the video right now, so it is not on the D2L page yet, but this is where it will be. Again, it repeats my contact information for you. Now, here's a part of the D2L page that you may never have noticed before. It's this little arrow that allows you to much more easily move through the modules in the content browser. And I find this very helpful because it eliminates extra clicking that I don't like doing. On the course information section, there are broken up pieces, basically, of things that are already in your syllabus, and then access to the syllabus for download. So the course description and the learning goals are posted here for you, and the connection to departmental goals. The syllabus is posted here. Since syllabi have a lot of extra pages and a lot of components, I have uploaded the PDF version of the syllabus, and by clicking this link you can open that and download it. I like to have a physical copy of a syllabus so that I can have it sitting in front of me or to keep it in a notebook. If you work best having it electronic, that's awesome. If you work best just having a paper copy in a notebook, do that. You can download it. Now, other things that are present, you have your course resources page. Now, what I've done here, I mentioned when I went over the syllabus that the wall text and these two DSM resources are available through our library. I hope that these links work for you. When you click on these, they should take you to what's called a dedicated link. As long as you are logged into the Mount Union system, it may require that you be on the Wi-Fi or on the VPN, but you'll have to let me know how that works. If you are logged on as you through the university system, you should be able to open the texts that way. If I'm at home, for example, and I open the library page, I just have to log in to the library resources using my Purple Plus number, my ID number, and then I can access library resources. So when you try to follow these links, there may be some extra hoops that you need to jump through to get them to work. And I would appreciate it if you would let me know what you run into and difficulties that you have accessing those books. The first-person narrative books are listed here, and they are blue because they are all hyperlinks. So these will take you to the PDF copies that I have uploaded with permission from the Annenberg Foundation to each of these books. And you'll notice that they represent a range of different mental health conditions. So you have eating disorders, anxiety, social anxiety disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, substance abuse, suicidal depression, and schizophrenia as your choices. First couple of weeks, the first week you're going to pick one of these and read it. The second week, you're going to write a reflection essay about it. These are additional supplemental readings, for the most part, for you to have access to. And these are uploaded as PDFs. Most of them are journal articles. Occasionally they are audio pieces that I found through our library system. So anything blue, again, is a hyperlink. So you can click on that and it should take you to the document that you're looking for. These are the references for the 10 films that we are going to watch as a class, obviously in a virtual format. And I will say, at the moment, I don't have a link for you yet. We're still working out the business end of the details. And I'm, nervously, being a control freak, anxious about this, but we're trying to work out a way of having access through a movie service called Swank, where we basically are paying for access to these specific films for you as a student participating in this class. So we should have access to all the films. Two of them, Frankie and Allison, Beautiful Boy, if you have Amazon Prime, they are included in Prime. All of the rest, I believe except for Helen, have to be rented on Amazon or some other streaming service that has movie rentals, because they are all still money-earning films. Helen is available. It's a rarer film. I believe it's accessible on some of the streaming services, but it tends to pop up and then disappear, pop up and then disappear. So again, I'm trying to make it so you have one service that we have a license to, and you'll have access to these films for one semester, the semester of this class. Now, down here, you have a whole laundry list of websites for organizations. And when you're getting ready to do your Stigma Buster project, or your disorder card, or perhaps even your film analysis essay, I would direct you to this list of links, because these are reliable, accurate sources of information for your projects and assignments. Any of these websites, the last time I checked, all of these websites were live, valid links. When you write papers for me, since you're in a psych class, you will be expected to use APA style. In your references and citations, that's primarily what I'm concerned with in a class like this. I've provided you with a set of handouts that the APA has created for helping students just like you to follow the culture of APA style when you write papers and build reference pages and cite sources. So these handouts should be sufficient for helping you navigate that process. And there's a sample paper that's the type of paper that you will be doing for your film analysis, actually. So you can take a look at that, and it should help you know what you need to know about APA style. Now, the rest of the elements under course information are resources and policies that are university-wide that you may find useful. The next set of things in the content browser are each of the major assignments has its own module. So for instance, the first assignment that you're going to have to work through is the first person narrative essay. So when you click on that module, it gives you an overview of the assignment, a link to the paper copy of the assignment sheet, which gives you detail on exactly what I want you to do for that paper, links to all of the books again, the assignment goals, and then the specific tasks, including the Dropbox for the end of the first week to tell me which book you're going to read. It's just my way of keeping track of what you're doing. And then the Dropbox for turning in your completed essay. So each assignment is going to have its own dedicated module. The next one is the disorder card assignment. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to get an email from me the first day of class indicating a specific psychological disorder and the film that goes with it. That doesn't mean there's necessarily a character with that disorder. It's just we're going to talk about it in the same time frame. And then the learning goals, and again, the tasks that are associated with the assignment. And again, any of these things, if you have questions or concerns, please let me know. Same with the film analysis essay. Yeah, the overview of the assignment, a chapter that I want you to read, and this would be an example of required reading. You've got the assignment sheet, you've got a chapter describing the type of essay I'm going to have you write. There's a list of approved films. These are films I know that you can use. I've seen them, or I know enough about them to evaluate. Now, you may have a film in mind that I have not seen. As long as you get permission from me, so you email me, you give me a description of the film, and ask me, I can okay it. There are some films out there that, while they're fun and entertaining, they have proven to be tricky or problematic for paper writing. So I can help you avoid some of those problems. So you've got the learning goals, the tasks that you need to create, and then there are some additional resources, like a handy guide to the types of terminology that people use when they talk about movies, how to identify reliable and unreliable sources, and then your APA resources are also linked there. And then finally, the Stigma Buster assignment or project. Again, you've got an overview, learning goals, and a description of what you're going to turn in from me to be evaluated. I'll give you some examples of projects that people have done in the past, and a set of tasks for you to look at, and a set of resources for you to access as you're working on that project. Now, the remainder of the content browser, and I realize I've been talking too long, but I think it's worth it to just give you a full orientation to the course here on the D2L page. Each week, what you will see is an overview for what we're doing that week, the learning goals for the week, and then the tasks for the week. So for instance, the first week, I want you to do a little attitude assessment. It'll take you maybe 5 minutes to do. Because I really want, I'm not going to use this for research or anything, but I want you to answer the questions and think about your attitudes before you launch in to anything else. There will be a discussion forum open. It's not required, but after you watch the intro to the class video, which is this video, any questions that you have, you can put into the discussion forum, because typically if you have the question, someone else in the class has the question too. Get a hold of the wall text, open your email, identify your disorder card, and start thinking about, when in the calendar of the 14 weeks of this class is my disorder card going to come due. For a couple of you, it's going to be after we watch Joker. So it will be random. I swear it will be random when I assign these. They'll just be, I don't know, maybe I'll put the little pieces of paper in a bowl and pull them out. But it will be random. I won't be cherry picking who I want to punish by having the first discussion. Just trust me on that. So each week is going to have these elements. You're going to have an overview, you can have learning goals and tasks. And hopefully that will keep us all on track. Now, since I've gone on a little longer than I expected, and I'm sure you're tired of listening to me talk, just note that across the top here, the menu, you have the discussion forums. You can enter into that space. So you'll notice there's an intro to the class, discussion forum for questions, and then we have film-based discussion forums for disorder cards. In the quizzes section, remember how I said that your film reflections, I'm going to use the quiz space for you to do homework of that form. So that's what it's called, a quiz, but it's not a quiz. Oh, I noticed an error there. I will fix that film reflection for Girl Interrupted. Sorry. You do have unlimited options to go back and look at your responses and make any changes that you like. But the goal is just to get you have to be thinking while you're watching. You're not just watching this for enjoyment. If you're like me, if I'm watching a TV show, even one that I'm really enjoying, I usually still have a laptop or my phone, and I'm distracted. So I want you to do the reflection so that you're actually engaged in the film while you're watching. So that's the whole point of this. The virtual classroom will be where my office hours are held. And you'll notice that they're each listed by date. So if you want to attend the office hours, you can do that. And I will be present. There is Screencast-O-Matic. If you want to use that to record your disorder cards, you can. But really, the camera on your phone is sufficient for what I'm looking for that. Then you have the Dropbox. And that's where all of the Dropbox is for, say, selecting your book, turning in your essays. Usually the essays, the final papers, are in all caps, and intermediate stuff is not. I don't know why. Probably because I can't color code in D2L like I want to. And then you have the grade section where you can keep track of how you're doing in the class and such. So that is your overview of both the syllabus and the D2L page. I'm looking forward to working with you. Please, if you are confused about stuff, if you can't find things that you want, or if you just have questions or you want to chat about the class and ideas that you may have already, feel free to email me or put stuff into that week 1 discussion forum. The next thing you'll hear from me will be the Stigma as a Social Problem lecture, and that will be posted as soon as I have it done. Welcome back, and again, I look forward to working with you.